Okay. Hola, buenas tardes. Should I translate that into English? Hello, good evening. Yo soy Alejandro Naveas, ya estoy a cargo un poco de la presentación de hoy y la voy a hacer como interactiva. The topic today is the impact of international exams in a globalized world, as you know. And when you say the impact, is because every day we are suffering, let's say, from impact. There is impact in our life, there is impact in a political system, there is impact in on the educational system. So impact is a word which is very fashionable, I would say. So let's have a look at what impact implies, right? So first of all, impact, and I've taken this from the Oxford Dictionary, is an action which basically has to do with some kind of force that generates some kind of contact with something, and has a certain effect or a certain influence. So that is impact. And at the same time, I want to refer to a globalized word. Why this impact on a globalized word? Because, today we are not just as isolated as we were. I mean, people are kind of interacting. Everyone is interacting. All people are interacting. All nations are interacting. And this is what a globalized world is all about. It's about this integration and this promotion of interactions at different levels. Technological, just say financial, political, all sorts of things. So, and to what extent are these exams important in this interaction? Okay, so let's have a look at this. Let's go back to this. Why international exams in Chile to begin with? Because Chile is also part of the globalized world. And how do we interact? We usually interact with a different language, not necessarily ours. We interact with basically English at the moment. So if we go back in time, we can say that when is it that English started in Chile? I mean, when was the first class of English? When was the first? Of course, it was not when you were a student at school. It was not when I was a student at school. It was much earlier than that. It was actually, the first time that somebody says hello to students was in 1813. Can you imagine? It was actually August, I mean, next month. So it was in the year 1813 when there was the first lesson of English, and it was at Instituto Nacional, right? So through history, we have been exposed to English for quite a long time. We have been exposed to language teaching for quite a long time, to language study for quite a long time. But unfortunately, we have not necessarily learned in all these years. So what has happened since the moment this started? Basically, we were very naive. There's a period that I call naivety. Naivety is this stage where you don't know exactly why you do certain things. You say, yes, of course, you believe. You tend to believe everything. You are very naive. We were very naive. Or some people say innocence, right? Well, naivety. That was the first part of our history when learning English. The second part was, okay, we are teaching English and people need to study and learn English. So we have to understand that there are too many students, there are not very many hours, there are no materials, we need resources, we need good teachers. So we were aware that this was the situation after being naive. And much more recently, accountability is, look, if you don't speak English, if you don't know English, you don't get a job. You cannot go to this country. You cannot negotiate with other countries. You cannot be part of a globalized world. So now it's accountability, which is people are asking for, responses, action. So why is it that people learn English, and why is it that the Chileans, what is it that the Chileans tend to think of language learning, and particularly English, okay? Well, the Chileans, to understand the Chileans, and I am Chilean, to understand the Chilean, we have to understand what makes us Chilean. How is it that we speak? What are we like? Okay, what is our personality like? And to what extent this affects second language learning, okay? To what extent, being Chilean, to what extent does the learning of English affect the idea of being Chilean or my nationality, or why? Why is it that some people can learn English much faster, okay, or if you want, better than the Chileans. For example, the Germans. The Germans speak beautifully and they learn beautifully as well because of different reasons. Does it have to do with nationality? Let's have a look. Incidentally, don't forget to write your comments and also to write your questions on the chat. If there are 2 people, 3 people, 1 person, doesn't really matter. You are all important. So these are the main answers which might affect us, when learning, in this case, English. And mind you, English, but imagine what it might mean to learn French, which is even harder. Well, first of all, when we speak, the Chileans, we speak very fast, don't we? We speak very fast. We say things so fast that some of our neighbors don't understand us. People in Latin America say that when they come to Chile, they don't understand the Chileans. We do not always say what we think. This is something else. When you say, what do you think about this? Oh, no, nothing. I mean, we do not normally say what we think, but we always have lots of ideas in our mind, which we do not necessarily express. Another important issue, we just celebrate everything. Everything that has to be celebrated, we find a need to have a beer, to have a drink, to go out, to dance, to sing, to joke. We are always celebrating everything, okay? And at the same time, so all these characteristics, but at the same time, we do not always dare to speak English. So we don't normally say, I know, I want to speak English. No, we don't normally say, no, I'm not sure. When we start anything, we usually say, I'm not sure, but I don't know, but. So it's making excuses. We don't take this courage to speak the language. So traditional Chileans, this is what's happening, and this is what has happened since the year 1813, when English language teaching started in Chile. The traditional Chileans, look at that. Someone might have thought, I don't see much point in learning English. Okay, no, why? I am good at English, but where can I use it? This is the tradition, the history, okay, of our country. Which is better? Some people say, some people still ask, which is better? Better, American or British English? I don't need English. I work in Chile. These are the traditional Chileans. However, there are more, let's say, modern, if you want, Chileans, right? The Chileans today, and globalized Chileans, shall we say globalized Chileans, right? If you look at the same people, but now they belong to a globalized world. Somebody says, I can speak English, but I cannot write very well. So there is a need. I am bilingual. What can I do now? I know that this is different. This is interesting. So I need to know what I can do. I want to study abroad. What do I need? So it's not a question of just, I have the money, I want to do it. What else do I need? And someone being clever saying, I need to be B2 in English. What is that? Somebody told him, you have to be B2. If you want to go to the city of whatever, New York, and you want to study there, you have to have a B2 level. You say, what is that? B2 level in English. So this is the globalized world, and these are the Chileans belonging to this globalized world. These are some of the impacts. So why do we have international validation? Basically, because with international validation, we demonstrate the world that we have the level that we need to show so that we can be accepted in a job, or in a company, or in an institution, or in some kind of project, or as a student at the university, or even if you want to migrate to another country. So how can you show the world? Through an international exam. The presentation is connected to my job, because as a consultant, I also work for the University of Cambridge, and international exams linked to Cambridge. But of course, there are others. So as long as you have an international exam, shall we say, in your body, you have the level and you can show the world. So this man says, I think I need to be prepared to take the preliminary. Preliminary is an example of B1. This is the name of the test, preliminary, B1. So look at these different people. These are 6 friends. And these different people can do different things in English. You might relate yourself to one of these people. So somebody might say, I can understand basic notices. Can you see the boy on the left on your screen? I can understand basic notices. So possibly this is your level, perhaps, or it's more than that. So something like, for example, stop, yes, no, silence, no smoking, basic notices, right? Push, pull, thank you, please, I'm sorry, basic notices. That some other people can do other things. For example, if you look at the girl on the right, she says, I can give a detailed description of a place. A detailed description of the place. So tell me about your city. Oh, my city. My city is spectacular. It's really wonderful. I really love it. It's got large, buildings and beautiful houses. You're talking and you're talking. You can give a detailed description of a place. It's not the same as the boy who can understand basic notices. So all these people can do. Notice the word can. I can, I can, I can, I can, I can. All of them can do something. For example, the boy in the middle, well, not in the middle, the one who is next to the girl, who can give detailed description, he says, I can express simple opinions. A simple opinion is, do you like your country? Yes. Do you like your city? No. Why? I don't know. I don't like it. Simple opinion, but it is an opinion and it is simple. So this boy can do it. So if you notice, all of them can do something, and it is because all of them have an international level. And this is what we mean by the levels, and this is what we mean by the letters. So somebody being a B2 is somebody like the girl who can give a detailed description of a place. Somebody who can give simple opinions is somebody who has an A2 level. Somebody who can understand simple notices is somebody who has an A1 level. And all of these levels are actually international exams which are recognized throughout the world, through this globalized world. So the impact of international exams in our society is making people better, making people understand. And here you have a description of that. I don't want to give details about this, but basically this is what you do. Somebody being A1 on the left or on the right, you can see that. Somebody being A1 is somebody who is very, very, shall we say, not somebody who cannot, not somebody who cannot do much. It's somebody who can do something, but can do something at a basic level. So all of these people can do something. So when somebody asks you, can you speak English? I'm sure that this question is something that you can ask many people. Do you speak English? Can you speak English? And people might say, but they understand they understand yes, and they understand no, they understand I'm sorry, they understand please. So that's A1. So they can understand. So normally, you see, the Chileans, normally we say, no, no, not really. But actually, yeah, we do understand, and sometimes we can express ideas. So there are benefits associated to not just being part of a globalized world, but when you speak another language, and this is very powerful, you have something to impress the people around you. Imagine if you can speak English, you impress people. If you can speak French, you speak people more. You can speak two languages, right? We have some people in the institution where we work who can speak Japanese, right? And it's impressive, right? So you can impress people. You can impress members of your family. You can impress yourself. You can develop confidence, right? This is something extra to be part of the globalized world. You can develop confidence when you have a preparation for international exam and later a validation. In other words, you take the exam, and then after taking the exam, you're given a certificate because you can do something with that level. You also improve your capacity to take decisions or to make decisions, right? You can say, no, 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 because your brain is working differently. When you start using another language, your brain is much faster, and you can be wonderful, right? Well, precisely, you can increase brain power. That's one of the benefits when learning another language. There are other benefits. For example, definitely, we all know this. Being part of a globalized world implies that you can improve your possibilities to be employed. not only here. Let me very briefly tell you, very briefly, about somebody who came to our institution some years ago. This was a British student who was coming as an exchange program student, or a student exchange program, if you wish, and he was working with us for 1 year. Okay, after that, being British, he learned some Spanish. He even developed some kind of, close relationship with somebody, one member of staff. And then he went back to Britain, and in Britain, he studied, he went back to his university, he continued with his program, he finished his program, then he wanted to take a master's degree program, he took the master's degree program, he finished, then after that, he took the PhD, the doctoral, level, and he finished that. He became a member of his university, a professor, a PhD professor at the University of Birmingham. And very recently, and I'm still in contact with him, very recently, he started a new professional development, which is politics. He engaged into politics, and guess what? He is a member of the parliament now, because in the last election, he was elected as a member of the parliament for the Labour Party. And recently, in LinkedIn, he started offering jobs to people who want to work with him in his new office. And of course, you have to speak English. You see? So this is something that is interesting because it's just happened. Okay, so you can study or live overseas, right? You can go to other countries, and not necessarily countries where people speak English, but countries where people speak Finnish, Danish, German, Japanese, Chinese, but you can still go there and live there because English is an international language. You become a much more open-minded person when you speak another language. You can understand other cultures, therefore, because you discover new cultures. You discover new ways of being, new ways of behaving, new ways of thinking. You meet new people. So these are all benefits associated to learning and certificating your level of English in this case. Your first language improves. When you speak Spanish, you are aware of your own Spanish, or perhaps it has also an impact on you, how you use your Spanish. You're also much better in other areas because your brain is working hard, so you can understand other areas of academic life, right? And this is what I love. You become a different person. Would you believe that? In other words, if you want to learn a language and you really want to manage this language, shall we say, to master this language at the level of speaking, the level of writing, listening, and understanding when listening, and also reading, right? You can do that. That's a language thing. But at the same time, if you forget where you come from, if you forget for a while the origin of being Chilean, and you dare to speak, you become a different person. Shy people can even overcome shyness when they speak in another language. This is what I wanted to share with you. I think it was quick, I think it was brief, but basically the idea is to show you that when learning another language, in this case English, you need to not only learn it, but also validate your learning, certificate your level, and the certifications that we are offering at the Británico, right, are basically, Cambridge exams. And so with Cambridge exams, you will have, different levels. There's going to be on Wednesday, next Wednesday, there's going to be an open session for you to come to the Institute if you want to be diagnosed and if you want to know what your level is. I'm going to be responsible for that, so we can meet in person, and then you can tell me, okay, if you're interested. Well, this is me, that's my email address, and thank you very much for having heard. Cuando tú das una prueba, ¿verdad? Es para validar lo que ya sabes. Y si tú sabes a nivel de A2, como uno de los chicos de la presentación sabe a nivel A2, das una prueba que representa el nivel A2 y por lo tanto califica, y después te dan un certificado donde dicen que tu validez del manejo del inglés es A2, ¿ya? Y si tú dices, ya, perfecto, con A2, ¿qué puedo hacer? Puedes hacer muchas cosas, pero no todas las cosas que quisiera hacer porque es un nivel relativamente básico. Pero vale, o sea, vale para lo que quieres hacer. Tú dices, es que voy a trabajar de recepcionista en un hotel y necesito saber si puedo con ese nivel. Sí, con ese nivel puedes. Con ese nivel puedes hacerlo porque el recepcionista no dice muchas cosas como dar opiniones y detalladas descripciones. No, tiene un nivel relativamente simple. Por lo tanto, si tú dices, no, es que yo quiero saber más porque quiero hacer más cosas en mi vida con inglés. Por lo tanto, tienes que dar una prueba más alta y más alta. En ese sentido, hay una prueba que puede ser más que la otra. Y seguramente si vas a hacer, y con esto no es despectivo por ningún motivo, si tú vas a manejar, y esta prueba también existe en otro idioma, imagínate que tú vas a manejar un taxi en Francia. Si vas a manejar un taxi en Francia, no tienes para qué tener un inglés, digamos, en este caso francés, avanzado. Bueno, lo mismo vas en Inglaterra. Si vas a trabajar en una empresa donde a lo mejor tienes que servir café, no tienes para qué tener un nivel avanzado. Pero si de repente tienes una profesión y te están tratando de contratar para que trabajes en la Embajada de Chile en Japón, es muy posible que tú necesites un nivel que no sea A2, sino que ya tiene que ser, yo me atrevería a C1, C2. Entonces, en ese sentido, hay una prueba que tiene que ver más con otra, o es más importante que otra, o si tú quieres ponerlo en sentido, es más alta, tiene más, pero de la validez, no. Todas las pruebas son válidas, todas las pruebas son válidas en su justa dimensión. Es igual que lo que ocurre con las profesiones. Todas las profesiones son válidas, no hay ninguna profesión que sea mejor que otra, porque toda la gente se necesita. Cambridge tenía un eslogan que decía English Forever. English for Life, porque era para siempre. Y de hecho, la persona que tiene un certificado de Cambridge es válido para siempre. Sin embargo, en mi opinión, es que si tú no estás usando ese idioma y esa validez que tiene, obviamente que ese para siempre va a ser un papel nomás, te va a decir que es para siempre, en el momento que te hagan hablar o escribir, no vas a tener validez. Pero el examen es para siempre. Es decir, de otra manera, si tú entras a una empresa y te dicen que necesitan hacerte una entrevista en inglés y tú dices que tienes nivel B2, tú dices, ah, ya, perfecto, veamos. Entonces, tú a partir del B2, tú estás trabajando tu habilidad y te muestras que tienes B2 y aunque el certificado sea del año 2004, no importa, hace 20 años, ¿verdad? Esos son los exámenes de Cambridge de los que estamos hablando ahora. IELTS, que es lo que está mencionando tú ahí, es otro examen, es distinto. Los exámenes de Cambridge son fundamentalmente los asociados con A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2, que son el preliminary, ¿verdad? El key, el first, y hay varios otros, el CAE. Esos exámenes son para que identifiquen tu nivel. El IELTS es un examen que se toma, que también participa Cambridge ahí, pero se toma con la justa dimensión de lo que corresponde, que es para identificar quiénes son las personas que pueden ir a hacer un posgrado a un país de habla inglesa o quiénes son las personas que pueden hacer un trabajo bien especializado. Es una medida que es como de aquí y ahora. No es como para siempre, no es para tenerlo para que si acaso algún día yo quiero ir a Australia y quiero ver si puedo algún día y por lo tanto voy a tener mientras tanto la IELTS. No, el IELTS, como tú bien dices, no dura tanto, dura 2 años y quizás dura menos, yo creo que dura menos. Y la verdad, las cosas que es porque te lo piden ahora. Por eso es que hay mucha gente que realmente dice, tengo que dar el IELTS ahora porque en octubre me considero un trabajo y en octubre me voy a Nueva Zelanda, pero ahora tengo que dar el IELTS, claro. Si tú me dices, yo di la IELTS en el año 2015 y en octubre me voy, no te sirve la IELTS, porque la gente con el IELTS la están pidiendo porque quieren ofrecerle ahora trabajo y quieren ahora que tenga la certificación. Y el IELTS mide otras cosas, o sea, igual mide el listening, speaking, reading, writing, pero con una intención así bien orientada hacia un trabajo y una orientación también bien orientada hacia el mundo del académico, ¿ya? Entonces, para ser posgrado. Por lo tanto, tiene preguntas del minuto. Los exámenes que estamos ofreciendo ahora nosotros, de los que yo me estaba refiriendo, son exámenes generales. Recuerden, esta es una gran oportunidad. No certificarse le está pasando mucha gente que lo tomó así como la rápida y hoy en día son excelentes eh, trabajadores en sus dominios, pero a muchos les está pasando la cuenta de esto porque están preguntándose si acaso pueden trabajar en otras partes y la verdad es que a veces se consiguen trabajo en otros sitios y le piden inglés certificado. Cuando le piden inglés certificado, no saben qué hacer. Y ahí empiezan a prepararse recién. Entonces, se pierden oportunidades. Así que bueno, Le doy las gracias una vez más y damos por cerrado, Fernando, esta reunión. Muchas gracias y que estén
Perfecto.
muy bien.
Listo.
Cuídense.
Avanzando hacia la acreditación IP Británico.